Okay, so this is going to be a hero setup level 56 or above. Basic training setup only. This is for when you wish to create a fair amount of troops, not just a single round, more like 10,000 plus maybe 100,000 when events are on or when you need to rebuild an army. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to look at the statistics of the base training speed. You find this in general info. Right here, training speed, as you can see, is 367%. Now you can see a majority of that is coming from the manors, which is one of the buildings, obviously, that gives you training speed. In this particular town, my town, I have 12 manors and 2 barracks. Okay, so the base training speed that I have, or training time actually, we will use Legionnaires T4s. So in order for me to create 6,900, it'll take me 3 days, 10 hours, and 38 minutes. Now this is with no boosting, no equipment. There's no event running at the moment that gives the 10%. So again, Hero 56, so what we want to do is we want to set up for training. So we'll give learning speed, building speed, the one that is necessary, and then we'll come all the way down to the bottom on the left hand side to training speed 3. Alright, so now we'll backtrack and just give out the minimum amount of points to get to that skill. Almost there. Okay, here we go. So we'll max this out to 50. Alright, so we have 30% training speed there. Now we obviously want to go up to training speed 2. Oh, I scrolled past it. Max that out. For 90%, we'll scroll up, max out training speed 1. For 30%. Now what we want to do is we want to go all the way down on the right hand side, and we want to look for warriors in training and warrior training cost. Now at this level you can either completely, well, almost max out 1 or equal spread on 2. I think it's more important to max out the warriors in training, because this will allow you to create obviously more warriors if you've only got 1 or 2 barracks. We're almost there. Construction, learning, vault. Okay, so here we go. So I know a lot of you are probably thinking that's a huge waste of points, but this setup is for when you're training troops only. This is a troop training only type setup. Now, that's important to remember because this is going to max out both your resource cost a little, but it'll also allow you to max out your training. So we get a 30% boost to the number of warriors in training. Now we're pretty tight on points here, so we'll just dump the last 4 points here. So 117 left over. So we got a little bit off the warrior training cost. Now you can either max out the warrior training cost to 25 for a 10% reduction in cost. Now obviously on a million that's going to give you 100,000 off. If you decide to do that, then you can only push the number of warriors in training to, I believe, 29, which is, I think around a 16 or 20% increase. I would think it's better to go this way, number of warriors in training, to get that extra boost on your capacity of ability to train. So what we'll do is we'll go back to our statistics now. We'll see what we've done with regards to increasing the training speed. As you can see, our training speed is now increased to 504 or 17% from 367% before. You can see where the knowledge is that we've boosted training speed 1, 2, and 3. Also the talent skin, if you notice there, we have the warriors training +5 because I have a dragon citadel on. So the next thing, if you want to know before we get to equipment, just what kind of reduction we're looking at in time. We can now train 8,775 warriors, so we've increased our warrior count by 1,800 plus, and we're actually going to train more warriors in less time than it would have before we did our hero skills. So now we're looking at 3 days, 7 hours, 22 minutes. Before, when we were training 6,900, it was 3 days, 10 hours, and 36 minutes. So we can even reduce this further by our equipment. So the fur hat, we're looking at training speed 23%. The armor, same thing, the stepped captain, training speed 21. I'll just throw on the lion's lockets. And I do not have the training boots. That's alright. And the training weapon. The Herald's Blade. It's just as good as the Kaiser's bow. So now we'll look at that. So we've even decreased that again to 2 days and 20 hours, so taking almost a full day off in our training speed. Now again, you can obviously push a 20% boost. If you want to know, I have a fair amount of them, so I'll just burn one for the sake of the setup. Go back and see what our training time is. Again, this is all against T4. We go 2 days, 5 hours, and 42 minutes. So a 20% boost will take off about 15 hours of your time. 30% obviously will take off about 21. So that's about it. So this, with the setup and the gear and a boost running, has put our training speed at 639%. And again, all the boosts are listed in the actual breakdown so you can see where everything is coming from. Again, this is strictly for training a lot of troops. When you've got the boosts, you've got the resources and the time. This isn't a setup you should run in order to do everything else. Just strictly training.